Why is Allah not removing your feelings for them? You've begged Allah. You've cried in sujood. You've tried distracting yourself, cutting ties, deleting their number, yet your heart still aches for them. No matter what you do, they still occupy your mind. Is this a sign from Allah? Is it a punishment? Is it a hidden message that they are meant for you? Or is it something deeper? What if I told you that the reason you still feel this way has nothing to do with them, and everything to do with what Allah is trying to teach you? What if the attachment isn't about love at all, but about a powerful hidden lesson you are meant to learn before your destiny unfolds? Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to hear will shift your entire perspective on why Allah is keeping this feeling in your heart. And when you finally understand it, you will be free. Lesson 1. The echo of a past prayer. What if the love you feel is not just an accident, but an answer to a dua you once made? Maybe in the past, you asked Allah for someone who would bring you happiness, someone who would make you feel alive. And now, this person entered your life, but not in the way you expected. Could it be that this person is not meant to stay, but only meant to show you a glimpse of what is possible? What if their role in your life was to teach you what your heart truly needs, so you can recognize the right one when they arrive? Lesson 2. The unfinished chapter from another life. There are moments in life when you meet someone, and it feels like you've known them forever. There's an unspoken familiarity, a deep connection that doesn't make sense. You might feel drawn to them in a way you can't explain, as if your souls already recognize each other. This feeling is real, and it's something the Prophet, peace be upon him, spoke about when he said, "Souls are like recruited soldiers. Those that knew each other before recognize each other in this world." Sahih Muslim. Before we were born into this world, our souls existed in a realm known as Alam al-Arwah, the world of souls. In that unseen existence, before our bodies were created, our souls interacted, formed bonds, and recognized each other. When two souls cross paths in this world, there can be an instant feeling of comfort, as if they are continuing something that started long before. This is why sometimes we meet a person and feel a connection that goes beyond words. But just because your soul recognizes someone does not mean they are meant to stay in your life forever. Sometimes a soul that was once close to yours is placed in your path again, not to be a part of your future, but to teach you something, to remind you of something, or to help you close a chapter you didn't even know was unfinished. It is one of the hardest things to accept, this feeling of deep familiarity with someone, yet realizing that they may not be meant for you in this life. You might wonder why Allah brought them into your life if they were not meant to stay. But what if the reason is not about them at all? What if this connection was meant to awaken something inside of you? What if their presence was not about fulfilling a relationship, but about preparing you for something greater? The test comes when we try to force a story to continue when it was only meant to be a chapter. Just like a traveler you meet on the road, some people are only meant to walk with you for a short distance before their path and yours must separate. The mistake we make is believing that every deep connection must lead to something permanent. But in reality, some connections exist only to serve a purpose in our growth. It is painful to let go, especially when it feels like your soul is saying, "I know you." But Allah, in His wisdom, does not make mistakes. If someone was truly written for you, you would never have to force them to stay. If they were meant to be by your side, Allah would make it easy. And if they are not, no amount of love, dua, or longing can change that. Rather than questioning why this bond was placed in your life, ask yourself, what was I meant to learn from it? Perhaps it was to show you the depth of your own heart, to teach you patience, or to prepare you for someone even more suited to your journey. The past connection between two souls does not guarantee a shared future. Sometimes, the wisdom of separation is greater than the comfort of togetherness. And when you learn to surrender to Allah's plan, you will find peace in knowing that no soul will ever be separated from what is truly meant for it. Lesson 3. The person is not the gift. The lesson is. There are moments in life when we pray for something with all our heart. We beg Allah for happiness, for companionship, for a person who will bring peace into our lives. Then one day we meet someone and it feels like an answered dua. Everything about them seems right. The way they make us feel, the way they understand us, it all seems too perfect to be a coincidence. So we hold on to them tightly, thinking, this must be my gift from Allah. This must be what I was praying for. But then something happens. The connection begins to fade, or obstacles arise that make being with them impossible. No matter how much effort we put in, the situation refuses to work out. Suddenly, the very thing that once felt like a blessing now feels like a painful test. We ask, why would Allah bring this person into my life only to take them away? Why would He place love in my heart only to make it impossible to be with them? But what if we have misunderstood the gift? What if the true blessing was never the person, but the lesson they came to teach? Imagine being given a beautifully wrapped box. You hold it in your hands, excited to see what's inside. But when you open it, you don't find the gift you expected. Instead, you find a letter that says, "This was never about the gift. This was about preparing you for something greater." In life, we often mistake means for ends. We assume that if someone enters our life and makes us feel happy, they must be the blessing. But sometimes Allah sends people as a means to transform us, not as the final gift, but as the lesson that prepares us for what's truly written for us. Think of Musa, alayhi salam, and Qadr, alayhi salam. Musa, alayhi salam, traveled a long distance, full of hardship, to learn from Qadr. But after 3 encounters, their journey together had to end. The lessons were complete, the wisdom was passed down, and Musa, alayhi salam, had to continue forward. What if the person you are holding on to so tightly was never meant to stay, but was only meant to teach you something that would shape your future? Maybe they were placed in your life to awaken something inside you, to show you the kind of love you need, the kind of patience you lack, or the kind of strength you never knew you had. Maybe they were meant to highlight your weaknesses, to show you what you must work on before you can truly be ready for the one Allah has written for you. It's painful when we believe we have found something beautiful only to watch it slip away. But Allah never takes without a purpose. Every person you meet, every emotion you experience, every love you feel, it is all shaping you, preparing you for something greater. If you find yourself clinging to a person, ask yourself, what am I truly holding on to? Is it the person themselves or the emotions they made me feel? Because emotions can be recreated, love can be found again, but the lessons, those are unique, those are priceless, those are what will stay with you forever. Instead of asking, why did this person leave? Ask, what did they teach me? What did Allah want me to learn from this? If you can find that answer, you will realize that nothing was ever lost, because while the person may have left, the lesson will remain. And that lesson is what will prepare you for the true blessing that is still on its way. Sometimes what you think was the gift was only the preparation for what is yet to come. And when you finally receive what is truly meant for you, you will look back and understand why Allah had to take this one away. Lesson 4. The pain is there to wake you up. There are moments when the pain of missing someone becomes unbearable. It lingers in your chest, a constant weight that refuses to lift. You feel trapped between memories and reality, between longing and acceptance. You make dua for the pain to disappear, but it stays. You beg Allah to remove the feelings, but they persist. And so you ask yourself, why? Why is this pain still here? If this person is not meant for me, why won't Allah take these emotions away? But what if the pain is not here to break you, but to wake you up? There is something unique about emotional pain. It is one of the only things that forces a person to reflect deeply, to ask questions they never would have asked, and to turn to Allah in ways they never have before. Think about it. When was the last time you made sincere, heartfelt dua before this? When was the last time you cried to Allah in sujood, truly feeling your dependence on Him? When was the last time you sat alone, evaluating your life, your choices, and your connection with Allah? For many people, the most powerful spiritual awakenings come not through comfort, but through heartbreak. Sometimes, Allah allows pain to enter your life not to punish you, but to shift your focus. He allows your heart to feel heavy, not because He enjoys your suffering, but because He knows that without this pain, you might never have turned back to Him in the way you need to. Pain has a way of stripping away distractions. When you are suffering, you realize that nothing in this world, no person, no attachment, no relationship, can fill the void that exists within you except Allah. There is a saying, sometimes Allah allows your heart to break so deep that only His presence can fill the cracks. This is why some of the greatest believers went through the deepest pain. Look at the Prophet, peace be upon him. He lost his beloved wife Khadija, his uncle Abu Talib, and many of his closest companions. He was rejected by his own people, insulted, abandoned, and forced to leave his home in Makkah. Yet every hardship only brought him closer to Allah. The more the world broke him, the stronger his heart became in its connection with his Creator. And this is the same for you. The pain is not here to destroy you. It is here to remove the veil that was covering your heart. It is here to show you what truly matters. It is here to remind you that this world and its attachments are temporary, but your relationship with Allah is eternal. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this pain trying to teach me? Maybe it is showing you that you place too much of your happiness in someone else instead of placing it in Allah. Maybe it is waking you up to the reality that you were making this person your emotional home, when only Allah should be your refuge. Maybe it is forcing you to slow down, to detach from the dunya, and to turn back to your purpose in this life. Pain is uncomfortable. It makes us restless, desperate for relief. But relief does not come from running away from it. Relief comes from understanding it. And when you truly understand why Allah placed this pain in your heart, you will begin to see that it was never meant to harm you. It was meant to heal you. Think about the process of healing a wound. If you ignore it, if you let it stay covered without cleaning it, it will only get worse. But if you allow the pain of disinfecting it, if you endure the discomfort of cleaning it out, then real healing begins. This is how emotional pain works too. You cannot run from it. You cannot numb it with distractions. You must face it, sit with it, and ask, Ya Allah, what are you trying to teach me? When you start seeing your pain as a lesson rather than a punishment, something incredible happens. Instead of fighting against it, you embrace it. Instead of feeling lost, you begin to see the direction it is pushing you toward. And eventually, without even realizing it, the pain that once consumed you will start to fade. Not because the feelings suddenly disappear overnight, but because your heart has grown bigger, stronger, and more focused on what truly matters. One day, you will look back at this moment, the moment you thought would break you, and you will realize that it was the very thing that saved you. You will see how this pain redirected your heart back to Allah, how it purified your soul, and how it transformed you into someone wiser, more resilient, and more at peace. Because the pain was never meant to last. It was only meant to wake you up, and once it has fulfilled its purpose, Allah will replace it with something far greater than what you lost. Lesson 5. The illusion of meant to be. There is a powerful belief that many of us hold on to, this idea that if we feel something deeply enough, if a connection is strong enough, then it must be meant to be. We convince ourselves that certain people come into our lives because they are destined to stay, that the emotions we feel for them are proof that they are part of our future. And so, we attach ourselves to this idea, shaping our dreams and expectations around it. But what if the very thing you believe is meant to be is actually an illusion? The truth is, our emotions can be deceptive. Our minds have a way of creating stories that don't always align with reality. Just because something feels right doesn't always mean it is right. Just because someone feels like home doesn't mean they are meant to be your permanent home. Think about the story of Musa, alayhi salam, and Qadr, alayhi salam. Musa, alayhi salam, was a prophet of Allah, full of knowledge and wisdom, yet even he could not comprehend the deeper plan that was unfolding before him. He thought he understood what was right and wrong. He thought he knew how things should be. But every time he questioned Qadr's actions, whether it was breaking the boat, killing the young boy, or rebuilding a wall in a town that had rejected them, he was proven wrong. The wisdom was hidden from him until the very end. This is the reality of our own lives. We think we know what is best for us. We think we can determine who is meant for us based on how we feel. But Allah sees what we cannot see. He knows what is hidden. And sometimes, what feels like destiny is actually just a test. A lesson meant to refine you, not define your future. Imagine two people walking on a road together. For a while, their paths are aligned. They walk side by side, sharing the journey, believing they are headed in the same direction. But at some point, the road splits. One person is meant to go left, and the other is meant to go right. No matter how much they want to continue together, their destinations are different. If they try to force it, they will only delay their true journey. This is how it is with people in our lives. Some are meant to walk with us for a season, not a lifetime. Some are meant to teach us, not to stay with us. And when the time comes to part ways, it is not because the love wasn't real. It is because Allah, in His infinite wisdom, knows that keeping them in your life would prevent you from reaching the place you are truly meant to be. One of the biggest traps we fall into is mistaking attachment for fate. We think, if I feel this strongly, then surely it must be written for me. But feelings alone are not proof of destiny. If something is truly written for you, you will not have to chase it. You will not have to struggle to make it work. What is truly meant for you will unfold naturally in a way that brings peace, not turmoil. This is why Allah sometimes removes people from our lives, even those we thought were irreplaceable, because He knows that if they remained, they would limit us in ways we do not yet understand. He knows that our attachment to them may be preventing us from receiving something far greater. How many times in life have we held on to something, believing it was the best we could have, only to later discover that Allah had something even better waiting for us? How many times have we looked back at a situation we once cried over, only to later realize it was a blessing in disguise? This is why we must be careful not to let our emotions dictate our belief in what is meant to be. Instead, we must look for the signs of true destiny. If something is meant for you, Allah will make it easy, not forceful. If something is meant for you, it will bring you closer to Him, not distract you from Him. If something is meant for you, it will align with your purpose, not pull you away from it. Sometimes what you are holding on to is not your destiny, it is just a moment in your story that was meant to pass. And the longer you cling to the illusion of what could have been, the more you delay what is truly waiting for you. Let go of the idea that everything you love is meant to stay. Trust that Allah does not take anything away except to replace it with something better. When you finally release the illusion, you make space for the reality of what is truly meant for you. And one day, when you reach that place of clarity, you will look back and understand. What I thought was my destiny was only a shadow. The real blessing was always ahead of me. Lesson 6. The test of hidden attachments. There are attachments we recognize, and then there are those we don't even realize we have. The second type, the hidden attachments, are the ones that test us the most. They are silent, subtle, and deeply rooted in our hearts. We may not even be aware of how much control they have over us until we are forced to let them go. One of the greatest deceptions we tell ourselves is, "I am not attached. I am just affected by this situation." We convince ourselves that we are fine, that we have moved on, that we are not emotionally dependent. But the truth is revealed when something unexpected happens, when the person we thought we had detached from suddenly reappears, when a memory resurfaces, when we see them happy with someone else. At that moment, we feel a sudden ache in our heart, a longing we thought was gone. And it is in that moment we realize we never really let go. We just buried the attachment deep enough to pretend it wasn't there. Allah tests us with our attachments because He wants to purify our hearts. He does not want our love for anything in this world to compete with our love for Him. That does not mean we are not allowed to love. It simply means that no love should have power over us. No attachment should make us forget our purpose. No person should occupy a place in our heart that only belongs to Allah. One of the greatest hidden tests of attachment is when our emotions start dictating our actions. When we say we have moved on, but we still check their social media. When we say we have accepted Qadr, but deep down we still hope for a different outcome. When we say we trust Allah, but we secretly make decisions based on what we want, rather than what is best for our iman. This is where the test lies, not in the presence of love, but in the way that love affects us. A true test of attachment is not when you lose something instantly, it is when you slowly watch it slip away, and you have to choose between clinging to it or surrendering to Allah. Look at the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. He loved his son Ismail deeply. For years he prayed for a child, and when Allah finally gave him one, he was told to leave Ismail and Hajar in the desert. Later, he was tested again, commanded to sacrifice his beloved son. It was a test of pure submission. Was his love for his son greater than his obedience to Allah? Of course, Allah never intended for him to actually sacrifice Ismail. The test was not about the son, it was about the attachment. And the moment Ibrahim alayhi salam proved that nothing in his heart was greater than his submission to Allah, the sacrifice was replaced with a ram, and his son was spared. This is what hidden attachments do. They challenge us in ways we don't expect. We assume the test is about the person we love, but the real test is about who we become because of that love. If your attachment to someone is causing you to delay your prayers, that is a test. If your attachment is making you check your phone more than you check in with Allah, that is a test. If your attachment makes you afraid of losing them more than you fear losing your connection with Allah, that is a test. And if Allah is not removing your feelings, it may be because He is waiting for you to pass the test. So how do you know if you are truly attached to someone in an unhealthy way? Ask yourself, if I never spoke to this person again, would I feel lost? Or would I still feel whole with Allah? If they moved on with their life, would I feel like my future was ruined, or would I trust that Allah's plan is better than mine? If Allah replaced them with someone else, would I resist it, or would I embrace it as part of my journey? The answers to these questions will tell you whether your attachment is pure or whether it is holding you back. This is why Allah sometimes removes people from our lives, even when we are not ready to let go. He knows that we cannot reach our full potential until we free ourselves from the things that tie us down. And if we do not let go willingly, He may allow pain to come as a way to push us forward. Because as long as we are attached to something that is not meant for us, we will never have space for what is meant for us. Some people are removed not because they are bad, but because their presence would delay your growth. Some feelings are left in your heart, not to torture you, but to show you where your true weaknesses lie. And some attachments are tested, not to make you suffer, but to purify your heart, so that when the right love arrives, you will be ready to receive it. The test of hidden attachments is one of the hardest trials a believer can face, because it requires deep self-awareness. It requires you to be honest about what is truly in your heart, not just what you tell yourself. It forces you to ask the difficult question, have I made this person my emotional home instead of Allah? If the answer is yes, then know this: Allah does not take away except to give something better. If He is testing your attachment, it is because He wants you to love purely, freely, without chains of dependency. And when you finally let go, not just physically, but in your heart, you will find something far greater than what you were holding on to. Because the real love story is not between you and another person. It is between you and Allah. And once you pass this test, you will see that the love He replaces it with is worth far more than anything you thought you lost. Lesson 7. When you let go, you make space for what's meant for you. Letting go is one of the hardest things a person can do. It feels like releasing a part of yourself, like losing something that was woven into the fabric of your soul. When you love someone deeply, when you've built dreams around them, when your heart has held onto them for so long, the idea of moving on feels impossible. But what if the very thing you are holding on to is the one thing that is stopping you from receiving what is truly meant for you? There's a powerful reality that many people don't realize. Your hands cannot receive what is written for you if they are still holding on to what is not. When you refuse to let go of something that Allah is trying to remove from your life, you are unknowingly delaying the arrival of something better. Imagine someone clutching a broken piece of glass. They hold it tightly, afraid to let it go. But the tighter they grip it, the more it cuts into their hand. They cry from the pain, but they are unwilling to release it because they believe it is the only thing they have. What they don't realize is that if they just opened their hand, they would not only stop the pain, but Allah would place something beautiful in it, something whole, something meant for them, something far greater than they ever imagined. This is what happens when we refuse to let go of someone Allah is trying to remove from our lives. We hold on to them because we believe they are what's best for us. We convince ourselves that if we just try a little harder, if we pray a little more, if we wait long enough, things will work out. But in reality, what is meant for you will never require you to fight against fate. What is truly yours will never come with endless confusion, pain, and difficulty. Think about the way Allah works. When He wants something for you, does He not make it effortless? When He sends you a blessing, does He not open doors with ease? When something is truly meant for you, does it not come with clarity and peace? So why do we convince ourselves that the thing we are struggling to keep is still meant for us? One of the greatest mistakes we make is assuming that if we feel deeply about something, it must be ours. But the depth of your feelings does not define destiny. You can love something deeply and it can still not be meant for you. You can want something desperately, and it can still not be good for you. This is why letting go is so important. It is an act of trust. It is saying to Allah, Ya Rab, I don't understand why you are taking this away from me, but I trust that you see what I cannot. I trust that if you are removing this from my life, it must be because something better is on its way. But here's the thing. Letting go is not just about removing someone physically from your life. It is about removing them from your heart. You might have stopped talking to them. You might have deleted their number, unfollowed them on social media, and distanced yourself physically. But if you are still checking up on them, still wondering what could have been, still making dua for them to come back, then you have not truly let go. Letting go means surrendering. It means no longer questioning why things didn't work out. It means no longer looking for signs, no longer hoping for things to change, no longer holding on to the idea of them. It means accepting that if Allah had wanted this person to be in your life, they would have been. And when you finally do that, when you finally release the weight of what was never meant to be, you make space for something far greater. How many times in life have you held on to something, believing it was the best thing for you, only to later realize that Allah had something far better planned? How many times have you cried over losing something, only to find peace in what Allah replaced it with? This is how His mercy works. He does not take away except to give something better. He does not close a door except to open a greater one. And sometimes He does not answer your dua the way you want, because He is preparing something far greater than what you are asking for. But you will never be able to receive it if your hands are still full of what He has asked you to let go of. There's an important truth we often forget. Allah will never let what is truly meant for you pass you by. If something is written for you, it will find you at the right time, in the right way, with the right ease. And what is not written for you, no matter how much you chase it, no matter how much you fight for it, no matter how much dua you make, it will slip away. Not because Allah is punishing you, not because your dua was rejected, but because He loves you too much to give you something that is not meant to be yours. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is Allah making space for? Instead of questioning, why did I lose this person? Ask, what blessing is coming that requires me to be empty-handed so I can receive it? And most importantly, instead of saying I can't live without them, remind yourself, the only one I truly need is Allah. When you reach that level of faith, when you truly let go and trust that Allah's plan is greater than your own, you will no longer feel broken. You will no longer feel lost, because you will finally understand what is meant for you will always reach you, and what is not meant for you will never stay. One day you will look back at this moment, the moment you thought would destroy you, and you will smile, because you will realize that it was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to free you. And when the blessing that was truly written for you finally arrives, you will thank Allah for not giving you what you once begged for, because what He gave you instead will be so much better than what you thought you wanted. One day you will look back at this moment, the pain, the longing, the nights spent asking, why, Ya Allah, why can't I let go? And you will understand. You will realize that every tear, every unanswered dua, every sleepless night was never about losing someone. It was about finding yourself. It was about returning to Allah. It was about discovering that your heart was never meant to be in the hands of another. It was always meant to belong to Him. And when you finally surrender, when you finally stop fighting against Qadr and trust that Allah's plan is greater than your emotions, something incredible will happen. You will wake up one day and the pain will no longer be there. You will realize that the love you thought you needed was only preparing you for the love that was truly meant for you. You will smile because the very thing you thought was breaking you was actually building you. And when the blessing that Allah had written for you finally arrives, you will thank Him. You will thank Him for not giving you what you once begged for, because what He replaced it with will be so much better. So today, instead of asking, "Why won't Allah remove these feelings?" ask, "What is Allah preparing me for?" Because when you let go for His sake, you don't lose, you win. You win something far greater than what you were holding on to. You win Allah. And that is the greatest love story of all. If this message touched your heart, share it. Someone out there is struggling with the same emotions, searching for answers, just like you were. Be the reason they find peace. At Resilient Ummah, we are here to remind you that no matter what you go through, no matter how much your heart aches, Allah's plan is always greater than your pain. Stay strong, trust His timing, and keep your heart connected to Him. Hit the like button if this resonated with you. Subscribe for more powerful reminders. And remember, what is written for you will always find you. Stay patient, stay resilient, stay connected to Allah. This is Resilient Ummah, and we'll see you in the next reminder, Insha'Allah.